the flag, Jordan?
I can see it.
Okay, cool. I don't know if it's like those green screens. I haven't had any, like desire to change my background.
I know the stars are here. The stripes are over here. I can actually reverse it so that it can go the other way.
Yeah.
But
Cassie, it looks like we're good to go.
Okay, Mayor, we're live on YouTube now.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Cassie. Good evening to all. We welcome you this evening to our business meeting of the Syracuse City Council. This is June 9th, 2020. And we've begun this as soon as we've got a quorum present and able to broadcast. For those of you that are joining us electronically, we are streaming this on the YouTube channel, and it is also available electronically through a Zoom meeting. We are holding our meetings electronically in accordance with an executive order issued by Governor Herbert on March 18th, suspending the enforcement of the provisions of the Utah Code 524-202 and 524-207 due to the infectious disease of COVID-19. So we welcome you this evening and glad that you're here to join us. I'll call the meeting to order, stating that we do have a quorum present and grateful for them, the service of the City Council. I've asked Councilman Mon if he would lead us in prayer, and then Councilman Savage if he'd lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance this evening.
Our Father in heaven, we are grateful for the opportunity to meet as a City Council here in this wonderful city. We are grateful to take on the challenges of the city and the needs of the citizens, and we pray that we will represent them the best of our ability. We are thankful, Father in heaven, for our law enforcement officers at this time when so many are challenged. We pray that they will understand that we love them and care for them and are grateful for their service. We pray for all of our first responders for their health and well-being as they serve our city. We pray that we will make wise decisions, and we pray that the city staff will be able to continue to perform at the high level that we have served the city with for some time. We are grateful for the increasing health and the changing conditions that are benefiting all, and we say this humbly in the name of thy Son, Jesus the Christ. Amen.
Amen.
all right, I encourage anyone listening to please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America
and to the
and to the
republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible,
With
with
liberty.
liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Thank you, fellows. I appreciate that. And Dave, thank you for mentioning the our first responders, our police department. We love them and are grateful for their protection of us and understand what worrisome things are happening in this nation at this time. And we want them to know that they're beloved of us, and we will do all we can for their benefit, and I'm grateful for them doing the same for each of us. Council, we have three agendas to adopt tonight. This is the first. This is for the business meeting. We will take a recess late in this meeting and adopt an agenda for the RDA and one for the MBA. But I'd entertain a motion to adopt the agenda for our business meeting.
So moved.
So,
I have a motion by Dave. Do I have a second?
second.
Motion, second by Corinne. Any discussion, council? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That was unanimous, Cassie. We're at item 2, where we'll allow public comment. Cassie has informed me she has not received anything in writing by the deadline this evening, but we would love to hear from anybody who has joined the Zoom meeting with us. If you have a desire to approach the council on any, we would welcome that. If you're familiar with Zoom, you know how you can raise the hand If you would raise your hand, we'd offer you 3 minutes before the council. If you would state your name and place of residence before you begin, we would encourage that comment. So are there any that would like to comment at this time? Hearing and seeing none, I will close public comment. There will be another opportunity later in the business meeting to do the same. It'll now to recognize the financial officer. Yes, Brody, you want to speak a little statement here about this board?
Okay, so this is an award. It's it's almost become routine, but it's, I think, a testament to the caliber of a person that Steve is. For the last it's either 10 or 11 years, I think. I think the city has received this award. On April 30th, the city was awarded the Certificate of Achievement for Excellence in Financial Reporting by the Government Finance Officers Association of the United States and Canada. This Certificate of Achievement, awarded to Syracuse City Administrative Services Director Stephen Marshall, is, quote, the highest form of recognition in governmental accounting and financial reporting, and its attainment represents a significant accomplishment by a government and its management, unquote. This is for the year that ended in June of 2019. So every year the city publishes what's called a comprehensive annual financial report. It's essentially a document that tells the financial story of the city, of what we actually did with the public's money. And that's available on the website. Whenever we publish it, each year it goes on the website for the public to view. It's in our industry, it's called the CAFR. That's the comprehensive annual financial report. So the CAFR is sent to the GFOA to be judged by an impartial panel. And their goal is to make sure it meets the highest standards of this program, and that it demonstrates the spirit of full disclosure, to clearly communicate our financial story to our residents. So I just want to thank Steve for continuing to be excellent in his profession. And so I just wanted to recognize him, as he does all the heavy lifting for this particular report and the associated accolades that we've been receiving. So well done, Steve, and thank you for that.
Council, do you have any comments?
Thank you.
Great
Yes.
job.
Great work. It's awesome.
Thanks for always being so good at answering my questions where I can understand them. Thank you, Steve.
Thanks, I appreciate the kind words.
Steve,
You're
you
the
have
man.
set a standard that is so high that if you were ever to fail to get the very highest achievement award, we'd all be in shock.
No
No
pressure,
pressure,
man.
right?
Well, we're very appreciative, Steve. That reflects on all of us, but you're responsible for that reflection. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Particularly the work that you've done since January in helping us to prepare the budget that we'll discuss tonight. So grateful for you. I'm glad there are people who understand numbers and can point them to me and help me understand them. So thanks again. And thank you, Brody, for bringing this to our attention. We really appreciate it. Let's move on. Item number 4, the semi-annual report of the Syracuse City Victims Advocate. Paul, do you want to give us a bit of information for the public on what this is before Celeste brings us up to date? Could you do that?
Of course. Yeah, every 6 months we are required under our grant with VOCA, the Victims of Crime Act, to present information to the presiding bodies of the governments that we serve. So Celeste is amazing. She does a great job of tracking everything that she does. and she will present to you the last 6 months or so of what's been going on from the victim advocate's perspective. So Celeste, turn the time to you.
Hi. Sorry, I've never really done this online or Zoom meetings, but good afternoon. I'm not sure how I'm supposed to do the PowerPoint though.
Somebody
So
can
you-
give you access.
Yeah,
Yes,
so
sir.
you have the ability to share your screen. So if you hover
Oh.
over your controls, you can do share screen and then just select that PowerPoint tab when it shows all the screens that pop up for you.
Oh,
And you'll have
okay.
to hit share one more time, and then you can go through your PowerPoint.
Let's see. I guess I should have asked before. Oh, share screen. Okay. Guys, I don't know what I'm doing.
Jordan's
Okay.
picture is fabulous.
I'm on.
You just see the demon
Yeah,
giraffe peeking
I'm
through
seeing-
from
yeah.
time to time.
Yeah.
If I can make it happen. There we go.
Oh, let's see. So I see the share screen. Oh. Is that working?
There you go.
Yep, I see
Sure
it.
is.
Okay. We're getting somewhere. Okay. I guess we'll just leave it like that. Does that work?
You can still push the slideshow tab down in the bottom right, down by where your like percentage is. That.
Oh.
Yep, there you go. Now you can tap
Okay.
into it, okay?
Okay, perfect. Got it. Okay, so I'm Celeste. Hi, I hope everyone's doing good. So we'll just start by the numbers of victims served from January to June. Our numbers the last 6 months have been kind of they're a little lower than the last time I presented, and it has with everything going on with the coronavirus, it has affected a lot of the things going on with I guess with what I do. Sorry, I'm like a little nervous. I don't know why. But so I helped 126 victims. 94 were females and 30 were males. I honestly was a little nervous. I did not know what to expect in these last few months that we've been dealing with the virus, because I mean, I'm sure you guys have seen on the news how there's a lot of domestic violence going on, especially in Salt Lake City. So I was a little nervous. I thought our numbers were actually going to be a lot higher than what I'm reporting right now, but I mean, I guess that's good too, right? That not a lot of crazy stuff is going on in Syracuse and Clinton. So we got to be grateful for that. That's kind of what's going on. It looks 75% are females and 24% are males, and about 1% they're just not reported, just simply because that's the way the police report was. That's how the police report showed it. Sorry, I don't know. Ooh, what happened? Oh,
There you go.
sorry.
It's all good.
I'm trying to, can't see. Okay, so the ages of the victims that I've been helping these last 6 months, majority, 63% are between 25 and 59. 22% are between 18 and 24. 60 and older is not very common, so it's 4%. And 0 to 12, newborn to 12 is about 1%. I think I stated this before in the past, where 0 to 12, usually I only get in contact with the parents, but DCFS are the ones who take over. They're the ones who offer resources. So I don't really do much. I kind of offer more of the criminal justice advocacy, meaning if they have questions about their case and I help them get connected with the detective, or if they have questions about what's going on in court, then I help answer those questions. But with resources, I don't offer a lot of resources. DCFS are the ones who offer that. Types of crime. So as you can tell, 59% is domestic violence. Child sexual abuse assault is 4%. Child physical abuse or neglect is 2%. Adult sexual assault 5%. Adult physical assault is 11%. Violation of protective order is 2. Voyeurism 2. Theft 2. Stalking harassment 12. And identity theft fraud 1%. So I have been dealing with a lot of DV here lately. I've seen a lot more in Clinton recently than I have in Syracuse. Clinton is a little crazier, I guess, but Syracuse is not terrible. Every once in a while you get a pretty bad case, but it's not awful. But yes, domestic violence has gone up due to, I guess, people being quarantined. So they're not getting along. So that's kind of what's going on right now. Services provided. Information about criminal justice process. I have done that 188 times. Just kind of letting them know how the criminal justice works. If they have any questions about court or anything like that, I help them understand it. I've done that a bit. Information about victims' rights, 132. Referral to other service programs is 53, and to services and support and resources 54 times. Safety plan is 122. Individual advocacy 183. I don't know if you guys remember what individual advocacy means, or how do I get that number? It's basically every time they need me to get in contact with somebody else, and that's how I keep track of that number. So they need me to get in contact with Paul, then that's me doing advocacy for them. So I let them know, hey Paul, so and so needs to get in contact with you. So that's kind of how I keep track of that number. Law enforcement interview 2. That's kind of low because we've been avoiding, at least trying to not have as much public contact because of everything that's going on. But I really want to focus on getting that number up. I want to be more involved, or I want to be in interviews a little more often. So hopefully that number is higher when I see you guys or talk to you guys in the 6 months. So continue of services provided. So notifying victims of criminal justice events is 171 times. So lately I've been doing that a lot because, well, court has been a little crazy with everything going on again. I feel like I keep saying that, but it keeps changing. So court dates keep changing, they keep getting pushed back, or something happens. So I notify the victim a lot on what's going on. I keep them updated exactly. I let them know exactly what's going on with their case so they're not confused or lost. The victim impact statement 42 times. Me speaking to the prosecution side 78 times. Lately, it's been kind of hard to keep in contact with Clinton City prosecutors. There's 2 down there. I haven't seen them actually for, I don't know, 2.5 months. So that's something we're still working on. So it's been a struggle lately, I'm not gonna lie, but I'm hoping things get better here soon. CVR is the resources, the state program that I offer for victims who need help financially, or if they need medical help or anything like that. 36 times. I've been trying to kind of put that out there a little more as well. Police officer communication, that is going great. I have great communication with both police departments. Clinton has gotten so much better, and Syracuse has always been great. Definitely no complaints there.
Yes.
Protective orders 41 times. So right now, with court being a little funky, so we're I kind of talked to the victims and asked them, like, do you need a protective order? This is what you do, or do you need us to put a no contact order in place? So that number is not as high as I would like it to be. I haven't, just with court being, things are hard right now. So I'm hoping these numbers will go up here soon. And these are our flyers. I have not updated them. I mail these out a lot, especially to people who maybe charges are not being filed against that person because it didn't reach that level. But I still like to mail these out so they know that there's a victim advocate in the city and they know what to do in case they need a victim advocate or they just have questions in general, then they know who to get in contact with. So if you guys ever need these, let me know. I can definitely give you guys some so we can hand them out. Event attended, I have not attended anything. And it looks like everything is canceled for summer 2020, which is a bummer. I was actually really excited. But I guess hopefully in the fall I can do the pumpkin walk, or I can't remember what the event is called with the fire department. So hopefully that will happen in the fall. But I guess we'll see. Everything's still kind of up in the air. So a survivor story. So this story actually, Alex, our old victim advocate, she started working with this victim, the survivor. It's a domestic violence case that started back in 2017, or it happened in 2017. She is happily married now. She is doing a lot better. She was able to get out of that abusive relationship. But so there was two cases. There was a big one and there was a small one, and this is the Clinton City case. The big one was dismissed at in the district courthouse due to basically they couldn't get anybody, an expert witness, to get on the stand and say that the injuries she received were done by the defendant. So the case was dismissed. She almost died. So she was really upset about the whole situation because she wasn't able to get justice. There's a smaller case where she's listed as a victim as well, and it's the same defendant that is just at a justice level. It's not quite as severe, but he is not taking the plea deal that they offer, so they're taking it to trial. So 3 years later, it's still in court. She's been having a hard time with it, and she does not want to testify, but we've been working with her, and we're going to arrange a meeting with the city prosecutor to just kind of prepare her. And hopefully, if she wants, it's completely up to her. We don't want to pressure her into doing something she doesn't want to, but she does want to see justice happen. It's just kind of getting her to that level, if that makes any sense. So I'm still working with her. She gives me a call every once in a while and we catch up. Like I said, she's doing good now, but we haven't been able to close that chapter of her life just yet until this case is fully closed in court. So we're hoping we can actually do something about it once this happens. I believe it is set for trial next month. So I guess we'll see what happens. Due to everything going on, it may be pushed back again, but that's the story I have for you guys right now. So yeah, keep our fingers crossed. I'm hoping that will end well. Any questions?
Thank you for the help that you're giving to the police department and to Paul. We sure appreciate what you're doing, and most of all, for helping our citizens. Thank you, Celeste.
No,
Yeah,
thank you guys.
so much.
I
Very
hope that made sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, let me know if you guys, if there's anything I can do. I'm always willing to help, and yeah, I hope everybody has a good night.
Great.
Thank you.
So much, Celeste.
Bye.
Bye.
Mary, you're muted.
Thanks for noticing. I was like, okay.
What are we doing here?
Yeah. Jane has to hit me over the head with a chair, so that's nice. It's good. We have 2 items of common consent that we have discussed at great detail in work sessions and other business meetings. Just as a matter of protocol for those listening in, any member of the council can remove one of those from common consent. Council, are there either of those 2 that you'd like to pull?
No.
If not, let me read them and I'd entertain a motion. A proposed resolution R20-16 adopting policies and procedures related to fee waivers and reduction in nonprofit entities for nonprofit entities. And item B, proposed resolution R2019 adopting updates to the fiscal year 2020 and 2021 wage scale. Now, we've discussed these a lot, council. I'd entertain a motion that we adopt them.
So moved.
Corinne has made that motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Seth. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I think I've heard all of you. Cassie, would you record that as unanimous? Item number 6, the approval of minutes. We have minutes of 2 evenings, April 28th and May 12th, work session in both of those cases. Council, are there any corrections or addition to those minutes that you read as you read through those?
No.
Thank you, Cassie, for the completeness of those. I'd entertain a motion, council.
Motion to approve.
I have a motion from Dave. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilwoman Bolduc. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Cassie, would you record that as unanimous? Item number 7, proposed ordinance 2020-11, amending the Syracuse City Code Chapter 10.92 pertaining to the mixed-use development. Noah, we've talked this and talked this and talked this. Give us a quick update for those that are listening in.
You bet, Mayor. Greetings, council. Good evening. I've shared my screen. I think the biggest change from last time was right here, the 70% of the required commercial can be located off-site, only in the town center. So if you're outside the town center, you can have any mixture of commercial on and off-site. And then the section that talks about entirely commercial buildings, we're just striking A, but that's not anything new from what we discussed last time, but I guess new since Planning Commission has brought it back. But yeah, it's all in the packet. Hopefully, do you have any questions?
Corinne, do you want to lead us out?
Oh, is it my turn? Okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
We have gone through this quite a bit. And then again, after receiving a couple of applications, and I think, we're ready to press forward. That's
Okay.
where I'm at.
Yeah. Seth, how do you feel?
Yeah, I agree. I think this is a lot of good work and effort put into it, and I would love to see this be codified so that we can begin to start reviewing potential opportunities.
Okay. I'm just going to take you as I see you in my screen, Lisa.
You're on mute.
Sorry, I was on mute. Yeah, we've gone through this so many times. I think that was our best effort this last time so far. So I think I feel the same as the others.
Okay, David.
I'm accepting that we've come to some kind of compromise here, but for the record, I just want to say I'm still very nervous that once we release this into the wild again, what we'll get back is we all had some visions of what this was going to be. So far, we haven't seen anything close to that, which is why we revised it again. I get that. I just hope that we get closer to what we thought we were asking for with this zone. I'm quite nervous that this is going to be applied as described.
Jordan.
I think we've tried to put our vision into words as best we can. I'm sure we have missed something somewhere. I'm okay with it as is. I'll let you know what I think after we see the applications. But for now, I'm willing to let this move forward. Let's do this.
Are we to a point where we could accept the motion?
Yes. Well, I am.
Okay. Would somebody be willing to make that?
I need to change screens.
How to say it? Let's see.
Okay.
Are you ready, Lisa?
Yes. I'm just.
Okay.
I put it on. No, go ahead. You attempt. I'm I'm trying to see how I would say it. You go ahead.
Okay. Mayor, I propose that we accept ordinance 2020-11, amending Syracuse City Code, Chapter 10.92, pertaining to the mixed-use development zone.
With the corrections? With the
Corrections listed.
listed in the, okay. Have a second?
I second.
Second.
I heard Lisa, but I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion, council? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Not hearing any. I would say that's unanimous. Okay. All right, let's go on. We're going to open our discussion tonight to public hearing for a proposed resolution R20-17, adjusting the Syracuse city budget for the fiscal year ending June 30th of 2020. This is commonly referred to as a budget opening. Cities and districts and governmental agencies are constantly opening their budgets to make adjustments. Luckily, we have and we are required to have a balanced budget, but there is a requirement at this time to open that and make some adjustments. Steve, can you bring us up to date on those?
Sure. I'm not going to go into a lot of detail since we discussed this before, but this is typically our last budget opening of the year. We just do it to clean up a few items and to fix anything that we need to. Some of the main changes are we're proposing $500,000 in surplus be transferred to the capital projects fund with the intent of using that for a park maintenance facility. Also, we had COVID-19 expenses we weren't planning for this year. So we put that in the budget for around $15,000 with a 75% reimbursement coming back to us. Some other things that have changed, depreciation expense was corrected to reflect actual numbers. We had a lot more development than we expected. So we have some connection fees and some impact fee revenue that went up. Also with that, you also have the expense side of things with garbage, hauling and sewer and culinary water. So those things go up, but they're typically covered by the revenue that comes in from those users that are using the service. We also revised some budgets in the RDA and EDA to reflect the actual numbers that came in from our tax increment distributions. That was basically it. There are a few other things in there, but I'll stop there. If you have any questions, let me know.
Okay. Council, what I'd like to do is open this for public hearing and give the opportunity anytime we're dealing with financial issues. We need to the public needs the opportunity to voice their opinion. So I will declare we are now in hearing. If anyone from our residents or from the public would like to comment to this issue and this issue only, we would now entertain your coming forward. Again, if you would raise your hand at the Zoom meeting so that we can notice us, we'll be looking for that, and we'll give you 3 minutes if you'd state your name and place of residence. We're now in public hearing. Doesn't appear that we have anyone speaking to that, so I'll close public hearing. And Dave, would you like to lead us out in this one?
I feel like most of the changes we've kind of discussed over the year, and we prepped ourselves in the last meeting understanding where some funds have to shift. This is typical. End of the year, we always have to do a little bit of shifting to cover unexpecteds, and I think Steve's well explained that, so I'm prepared to move forward.
Okay. Any other discussion, council?
No.
Anybody else? See Seth shaking his head, Lisa's shaking her head.
We're good.
Okay, council, I'd entertain a motion.
I'd make a motion that we accept these changes to the city budget.
Okay, I have a first, do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Jordan. Any further discussion, council?
I believe that second was Seth, actually.
Was it Seth? Okay. Cassie, would you change that to Seth? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, Cassie, that was 100%. Let's move to item 9. And we'll again have a public hearing. We're going to talk about some changes to our fee schedule, making some adjustments throughout. Again, we're proposing resolution R 2018, and anytime we deal with financial affairs, it has to be brought to a public hearing. Again, we would invite those from the public to come forward if you'd like. If you'd raise your hand in the Zoom meeting again, having had nothing come in writing, we would like to recognize you again for 3 minutes if you state your name and place of residence. Hearing and seeing none, I'll close public hearing. Jordan, you want to lead us here?
We've always had the policy of the fee has to cover the service. This is just making sure that takes place. So I didn't have a lot of comments on this one. Just trying to make sure that we are running the city as efficiently and as providing the best service we can with the money we have. So not a whole lot here.
Anyone else? I'd entertain a motion.
I move. I'll make the motion.
Okay.
Let's see.
Good luck, Lisa.
Thank you. I have it on the phone here. I'm reading. Let's see. I move that we accept the proposed resolution R 2018-18, updating and amending the Syracuse City Consolidated Fee Schedule by making adjustments throughout.
I have a first. Do I have a second?
Second.
Very well done, Corinne. Very well done.
That took a lot of work.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? I think I saw all heads nod. And Cassie, would you record that as unanimous? Let's move to item number 10. And Seth, will you be ready to lead us out on this one? This is a proposed resolution R 2020 authorizing and directing the participation rate of Syracuse City and Public Employees Retirement System and the Public Safety Retirement System for fiscal year 2020 and 21. You know, we've talked this one too at great length. So Steve, do you want to, for the public's benefit, to talk this just a little bit so they understand it?
Sure. So the city is required to contribute into retirement for any full-time employee of the city. That includes the administrative staff as well as public safety. There are a total of 9 different retirement programs we have going on here with tier 1s, tier 2s. And then within tier 2s, there's also 2 different hybrid programs going on there. There were no rate changes with the exception of 2% for public safety that the city is required to pick up, and that is in the budget. There is also the option of a 2.27% pickup that the employee would be required to pay if the city did not. My understanding is the council is wanting to pick that up. That is in the budget, and that is in this resolution as well. So those 2 changes are incorporated into these rates. Everything else, I guess, local government employee piece, those all stayed the same this year.
Okay. All right.
You want me to jump in?
You want to jump in, Seth, and lead us?
Yeah, I think it's fairly standard, and we have discussed this as a council. And I know personally, I'm supportive of the 2 point whatever percentage it was to contribute to our 2.27% contribution for those who are mandated to have either the city or the employee to pick it up. And so I'm definitely supportive of this.
Okay. Any other discussion from any of you?
I would just mention that this is a bit of an unfunded mandate and that this had to happen. And it's just a matter of whether the city picks up this part of the retirement or whether we force it onto the employee. And I think that wasn't a fair solution. So I feel like I'm glad that we can pick this up.
Hopefully we don't have a bear market.
Hopefully.
Amen.
Mhm.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that seems to be unanimous. Let's move to item number 11. We'll be holding a public hearing in regard to this resolution too. This is proposed resolution R 2021 adopting the tentative budget as an operating budget for fiscal year 2020-21 and continuing the public hearing to August to consider increasing the 2020 certified tax rate to 0.001638 and adopting a final budget on that evening. So again, anytime we're dealing with money and the setting of limits on money or what we're going to spend, the public needs to be involved in that. If you would like to speak to this and you're a member of the public or anyone who would like to speak to it on this topic only, we invite you to flag us here and we'll allow 3 minutes. If you'd state your name and place of residence. Hearing and seeing none, I will close public comment. Corinne, would you lead us here?
I'm trying to catch up on the budget here on my phone.
Yeah, I guess it's Lisa. Excuse me, Lisa. This is
That's okay. That's all right.
I skipped the line.
Okay.
There's a lot to be discussed on this if we're looking, this is what we've been talking about quite a bit, isn't it? And we've discussed some changes with the COVID impact. I think we need to revisit what we've decided up to this point. So sorry, I have several screens I'm going between here. So you know what, let's just, whoever has a thought, let's just, I'm willing to just hear what everyone else wants to say as well.
Okay, I'm definitely for the advancement policy change. We need to make that across the board for all the departments so that we don't keep falling behind.
Mm-hmm.
And then also the uniform amount for the police. And then also looking into the fire department. We had some estimates sent to us by Brody of how much these would, or some of these kind of would cost, and what the public appetite is for tax increases. And I can just tell you that I've received emails about raising the taxes. And yeah, there's a lot of sentiment out there that is not happy about the consideration of raising it, let alone holding it. So we need to definitely look through this and adjust. But I do not want this to be a reflection of how we feel about any of the departments in need. It's just that, like was explained to me, this is a 1-2 punch this year of COVID plus the RC Willie leaving.
More like a 1, 2, 3, 4.
The riots don't help either, for sure.
They can have 2020 back.
Yeah, do over.
We'll be glad when it's 2021. Well, we're almost there fiscally, right?
So I just want to take us back to the last meeting where we talked about how there were some big changes planned to try and get in all of the service needs. I am not a fan of paying taxes or raising taxes because, you know, they affect all of us. And I've said that multiple times, but I also realize that if we're seriously going to talk about what affects the level of service that we've enjoyed here in Syracuse, I'm really nervous to take a step back and threaten the ability to say that we are covered, especially when it comes to first responders. We did have 4 years ago and even 6 years ago, sometimes when different groups of first responders fled due to the competitiveness of pay. And I appreciate the work that they do and love those who have served here. I am very concerned about threatening our ability to maintain this level of service. I don't feel like we can do everything that we're being requested. As I said in our last meeting, I was really hoping to get it down from where the projected increase was 17% to at least into single digits. And I'm grateful to Steve who provided this, because before that came out, after I saw Brody's, was working early this morning and saw Brody's email. And no offense, Brody, but none of those plans were perfect for me. So I started putting together, I mean, not that they were all targeted approach for certain things, but my concern was that we had to do a little bit more across the board. So I put together just kind of my own list of what I thought we needed to do, and where that falls conveniently does get us down to single digits. Again, I don't want to raise taxes, but I fear that if we don't, we'll go into next year compounded. And what I fear the most is I don't ever want to go into a situation where we're talking about raises of taxes like other cities have when they failed to do it over a decade or more, and then suddenly had 100% tax increase. I believe that people can handle smaller ones over time, as opposed to dramatic ones that shock people's world. So here's what I would propose. And again, this is not an official proposal. I will still want to hear from everybody else. I felt like the tier 2 retirement has to be in, because that if we don't do that, we're just forcing them to pay that out of pocket. And so that is almost like a wage decrease. And Corinne agreed with that. So
yeah.
I feel like we need to include making 2 full-time firefighters from our 3 part-timers. I know that's not the 3 that were requested, and I understand that's going to be some adjustment on their part, how they carry that across shifts. But I feel like if we don't do at least 2, then we're still going to be fighting the fact that we just don't have enough coverage to allow anybody to take their vacation time.
Really quick, Dave, on that point, as far as I understand, they also have one returning from active military duty this fall. Yeah. So that might help too.
I'm counting that in here. So.
Oh, I see.
And so if we do that, hopefully they can make their shift work without a huge impact. I feel like we need to pick up the uniform allowance. That's not a big thing for the police department, but it is such a threatened profession right now, and I would hate to go understaffed and have our city be extremely vulnerable. And then the next is kind of a twist on everything that was thrown out there. The suggestion that Brody made was that we do, for this year's group of reviews, 50% of the market adjustment. I can understand why that would be there, but I don't think I can quite afford it. So I would throw out there maybe a 25% of the market adjustment. And maybe if we do the same in the following year, it takes the sting off of what we'll have to do in a full market adjustment come the 4-year review that will start in 2022. So that's just a theory. By doing that, that gets us down under 9% increase, which is in the single digits. And
so what's under 9? What is
those 4 things? If
no. What's the percentage then? You said it's under 9. What is the 8?
Well, I was using, so if we went up to 225, it would have been 9.1. This comes up to 218.5. So I didn't actually calculate that. I didn't want to put somebody on the spot, but I figure if 9.1 is 225 and this is less, we fall below 9. So that was a guess, but I don't have the actual percentage. We'd be like 8 point something in the high 8s. Steve, if you want to do that for me quickly, we could throw that out.
8.9.
There you go.
So just barely, but that's still, yeah, okay.
It is at least in the single digits. My biggest concern is if we don't do a little bit, we are going to get to a year or 2 from now where we're talking 40-50% tax increase, and people are going to freak right out, and I would too. I will be along with them saying, I wish we'd never pushed this far.
Steve, can you tell us how much per household that would mean per year increase? I mean,
Yeah, just 1 second.
thank you. He's amazing.
I hate to have put him on the
You
I don't
have to
wanna
do
do
math
it.
in public. That's impressive.
I know, I hate to do
I'm
that,
always
but
off by a couple million when I do math in public.
It's like this decimal point thing.
Just
so
that zero, that makes
Jordan, where are you?
So I'm in line with where Dave was going. I'm just watching cities all around us, trying to figure out how to close budgets. I'm watching families struggle around me that have been either furloughed or are not getting the time they want. I have contractors that are not able to go into homes. And I think this will improve. What I don't know is what the fall will bring. And if for some reason we have to tighten things back down in the fall, I just don't have the crystal ball focused well enough to know exactly what I can do. So given these circumstances, I would like to hope for the best, but I really do need to plan for the worst. And so I do agree that especially in the environment we're in, we need to make sure that our first responders are taken care of. And for that, I want to make sure that we, at a minimum, do the pension that we've talked about, as well as the uniform, because this is how they acquire their vests. This is how they make sure they have all of their PPE and their uniforms, all of that up to date. And so I do not want to, I just want to make sure they're safe. So I want to make sure we do those at a minimum. One thing Dave did not address is the promotions, the same year that they can both have a promotion and a cost of living increase. I think that needs to be included as well. I could not, again, I was actually going to stop there simply because I just don't know what the forecast is going to look like. I would be willing to go along with Dave's 25%. I do want to make sure we are taking care of our first responders. They are our front line in a lot of these things, but I also know that there are 2 other departments that are in equally dire straits, and I don't know how to give it to the police department, but not these other departments.
this does, just to be clear, the 25% was from Brody's line, where all 3 departments that were reviewed this year get the 25% of what the market adjustment would be.
Okay, if that's what we're doing, then I can support that. As I want to make sure we can afford it. I want to make sure that the people of Syracuse can make sure that we are paying these people and we don't lose them, because it is far more expensive to train someone than it is to keep someone who already knows the job, is doing a phenomenal job, and our staff is top notch. I don't want to lose any of them, so I want to do something. So as long as that 25% is across those that we've identified are far below what they have been. I know that the economy is changing swiftly, but the issue we have is the economy is changing swiftly. And so this allows us, I agree with Dave's comment that we don't want to get so far behind that we can't catch up again. So I'm okay with Dave's recommendation, but I do want to make sure we have that same promotion in the same year as a cost of living increase.
Do we know what that would? Yeah, what's the impact of that?
It's about 11, I think.
What you want, the average cost per home would be about $26 on the average
26 increase.
increase. Yep.
$26 per home per year.
Per year.
On the average home. The average home is at $359,000. Yeah.
Okay.
So did adding the promotions and cost of livings increase anything from what Dave said?
What was your thought on the hiring one more fire?
Oh, I actually agree. I think that's one where it's becoming unsafe simply because if people aren't doing their vacations, it actually mentally it's pretty taxing, especially in those high adrenaline jobs. And so I was going to do one instead of two, only because we do have one coming back, so that would do two, and then we try and pick up the third as we see what the economy does. So I was going to do one plus plan on the one returning from active duty, but I
And did you
would.
say that accounts for that?
Yep.
Mayor, can I?
Let me move to Seth first, and then Brody, will you and Steve then?
Yeah, no, I don't have a whole lot more to add to that. I think that those are all salient points, and I think that I could support that with the idea that if we are, I mean, we talked about pre-pandemic, all the craziness, authorizing the increases, to the fullest extent possible. Then it was 50%, and then it's 25% with the understanding. But I don't know how to make that clear, or how to put that in somewhat stone that this is an understanding moving forward, that's a top priority first and foremost, that we kind of honor this as an ongoing effort with all things considered. If anything drastically changes, we start here next year with the same thoughts we had this year. But I could support all those. Yeah.
Okay, let's listen to Brody and Steve for just a minute, and then I would entertain this proposal of an option.
Okay, first of all, procedurally, what we're doing tonight, you'll want to set the hearing, or the truth in taxation number at the highest number that you would even consider.
Oh, okay.
At the meeting, you can always go down, but you don't go up at the hearing in August. So just
The
keep
highest
that in
percentage.
mind. Yeah, the highest percentage that you would consider.
But also keep in mind, that's what's going on the tax notice and what everyone will see.
So don't 100%.
Unless, yeah.
Yeah.
Even if we come down,
Yes.
they'll still have seen the higher number.
Yeah.
Right.
So you want to get it pretty close.
Yeah, it sticks
All
in their head. You see it once, that's how it is.
The higher the number, the more angry they will be at the meeting.
Yeah.
Which is understandable. So I wanted to color the discussion on the firefighters a little bit. If you're just going to add one firefighter, I don't think we can trim down 3 part-time spots, because I'm guessing Chief's going to need those 3
That makes sense.
to help out in the
That's
scheduling.
why I said 2.
Yeah, if you do 2, I think we can swing that. Then the kicker on the third one is the wildland revenue. It sure helps the possibility that we can actually send people out and get that wildland revenue, which this year we're budgeting $150,000. So just keep that in mind on the fire. The other item was something that hasn't been discussed, and I didn't want it to get lost in the sauce because it's a smaller dollar figure, is the public works conversion from a seasonal to a part-time. It is $9,000. I don't know what that difference is, Steve, on the percentage point, but that's actually the priority in public works, to get that conversion for their streets division. So if that's worth pitching in, I would ask you to consider that too. So
That's like a 0.4% increase. So I would go to a 9.3% if you added that.
Well, most people are going to see the 8.9 as a 9 anyway. I mean, truly. So with that extra 0.4%, the average increase is.
But we would also have the
General?
promote piece, right, on top of the 8.9.
Like $27.
Yeah, it's not very much.
$27.
27. On the average, what was the average home?
360 about.
So I just looked at the report. I think in that report I put in the link, it's 352,000.
So this overall makes a difference of what we're talking about, like 80 grand, is that right? Overall, or that's for the 12.2, right? So we're talking quite a bit less.
Yeah, the 12.2 was $301,000. That was.
Oh,
And we're keeping.
we could have
this
done a
under-
lot.
Okay, so,
Sorry.
all right. I have not said this publicly, but I just want to share with you this. It is not lost on me, the hardship that this puts on people. But I also, living here in Syracuse, have enjoyed a safety feeling and a sense that I am covered by our first responders that I can't go without. So I too understand where people have suffered. I was laid off because of global contracts. So I expect things will get back to normal soon. And I am just saying, from that standpoint, I'd still rather pay a little bit more in taxes and feel like my first responders have my back than be in a situation where I feel like I'm worried about them all burning out and not being able to keep up. Because I really do believe we're there. I really sincerely believe that we're at a point where we're risking being cruel to the way that we do business. So I'm going to propose this motion based on everything that everybody said. I propose that we include in our budget changes the PD or police department uniform allowance increase, for which would be 7,800 total across the department. The tier 2 retirement pickup, which is the forced retirement benefits that we have to cover for these first responders, which is listed as 15,000 in the overall budget. 2 full-time fire department employees from the 3, losing 3 part-timers, which is listed as a total impact to the budget as $150,000. 25% market adjustment for the 3 departments that were reviewed this year, which would be police department, fire department, and public and parks and rec, which by my calculations comes out to be about $45,750. The Public Works converting 1 part-time street and maintenance worker to full-time, which is listed in the packet as approximately $9,000.
Isn't it going to part-time, seasonal to part-time?
Yeah, seasonal to
Or
part-time.
seasonal to part-time. Thank you for that correction. Make that in the motion. And then we accept the policy change that does allow for someone to receive a merit increase the same year that they received a advancement. Thank you. That would be my motion. That keeps us under 10%. I don't like it. I wish that I didn't have to pay it, but I would rather pay that extra $27 on average per home than feel like I might not have the backing of the people I need when I need them.
Mayor, may I make a clarification before we go into the second? You said hiring 2 firefighters?
I did say 2, because if we don't do the 2, as Brody just mentioned, 1 probably won't make the difference. We probably will not be able to allow people to take their vacation time. And coincidentally, 2 full-time firefighters may give us the ability to make up that 150,000 in wildfire deployments. So that kind of helps us with our budget when those numbers are equal. So if we allow for more wildfire deployments, we can cover some of that cost, and we would not be able to do that with just 1.
Is that accurate, Brody? Is that?
Yeah, I'd refer to Chief Byington if he wants to chime in on that.
Sorry, Lisa, you were saying something too.
He's there.
I was just going to say, we especially wanted to make sure that we could help with the fire department schedules where they need someone to fill in for vacations and time off, and they've really been struggling with that. So we need to be very aware of that necessity.
Just to answer the question on the wildland. The wildland, you know, of course, it's all on what deployments come in, and then it falls out on who's willing to go out. The biggest problem that we're having with sending people out is the backfill of people coming back in and being able to fill the shifts while Captain Bybee and Engineer Holman are out. And so that, in addition to trying to fill shifts while these guys are gone for sometimes up to 100 days throughout the wildland season, adds quite a bit of additional pressure to that. But I think, you know, I'll be grateful for whatever help we can get, and I fully appreciate and understand the position you guys are in. Absolutely, 100%. So we'll be happy and work with what we get, and we'll do the best we can.
Now, before we get too far away from it, I have a motion. Let me see if we have a second. If not, it'll die. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second from Seth. Okay, now let's go back to discussion. Lisa, would you lead us off, and let's go around again before we take a vote.
Okay. So I think there are several things. I agree with everything that's been said. I think that if we could, we would give everything we could. I also know that we are in a really difficult crunch right now with the pandemic issue, but I also recognize the incredible value that we have in our staff and how much they do for our city. And having seen what's happened over the last couple of weeks, I am even more aware of the caliber of people we have working here, and I would never want them to feel like they are not valued and compensated fairly. And so going forward, I would want it stated that we have every intention to progress in how we compensate according to what we've discussed in the past few months about this, but that this is a little hiccup in what our plans had been. I like all of the things that Dave has proposed. I think it answers several questions, and I agree with his sentiments about the value that we receive is worth what we're paying for it. And if that means that we have to have a fee increase in order to, or just bring it up a few dollars a year per household, this isn't money that's being thrown into the wind or that isn't being really considered strongly. So this, I know what I'm saying is probably preaching to the choir, but these are all I share all of the sentiments that have been shared as well.
Okay, I'm gonna go by how you see it. Look at my screen. Corinne, you're next, and then Seth.
Okay, I have to agree with everything that's been said here. It's been, you know, a very difficult process. I mean, I had one resident tell me to tell the police and fire that they should be grateful they have a job, which is just not the right way to treat them. So despite the bad situation that we're in, and actually in spite of the bad situation, we need to make sure they know that we're not like some of the other areas in this country and that we support them. So I think that this 25% really doesn't make a huge difference in the amount. So I know that there is some worry about how this will affect possibly funding the park in the future, if that sentiment is, oh, we've got to pay for this too now situation. But they are our police and fire and getting our advancement policy corrected. All of those things, those need to happen. And I feel good about this.
Seth?
Yeah, not a whole lot more. I think you guys have all said it very well. Heartfelt appreciation for the services provided. And, you know, I think this puts more pressure on the fact that we need to bring on some strategic economic development, you know, and put our thinking caps on about ways to alleviate some of that stress through paying for stuff people want, services they need and want and value, and then bring in revenue that way. And so I'm excited, looking forward to our meetings over the next week and the strategies that'll be employed that way, and hope we can appreciate that moving forward, so we're not in this crunch every year. But I recognize these are extraordinary times, and so appreciate it. I wouldn't add a lot more.
Okay, thank you, Seth. Jordan?
Let me just state, I'm grateful you all have jobs, and I'm grateful that you're here. To all of our city employees who have just been doing an incredible job throughout all the various funness we've been experiencing over the last few weeks and months. Same. I think this has been a wake-up call to me on the city council that I need to find ways to bulletproof our economy here in the city. We have the fact that we have one business leaving is causing us such dire straits is actually extremely troubling to me. And so we need to look at better ways to fund some of these items around the city through economic development. We need to look at, in some cases, more efficient housing to try and make sure that we have a more robust budget going forward. But we are where we are due to decisions of, some amazing city councils before us. But luckily, we have some interesting things coming to the city in the not too distant future. Some great economic opportunities, and I have every intention of making this right as soon as we possibly can. In the meantime, I agree with the proposals that have been set forth and endorse it, and would like to move forward with that.
Okay, Dave, do you have more?
I'd just like to say, since Seth brought this into the equation and Jordan commented, I also agree that the responsibility of what we can do to help people right this is to be aggressive in our economic development. And I think we're working on that in several avenues. And I would put forth that I have been working on it personally, trying to find out what else I can do to just bring it to the city staff that they can work through. And we'll talk about that next more. But economic development is our way out of some of this. And I'm willing to put more and more effort into that to make sure that it pays off. So, but I stand by my motion. It's been seconded, and I think we have to do something.
Okay. I'm going to call the question. Rebodi?
Yeah, I just want to put it in perspective. All the things that you've talked about today, for the truth and to put on the agenda for truth and taxation hearing, that would be more than covered by the one business that's leaving the city. So we wouldn't even have to even hold the rate to do all of those things that you've discussed tonight. So, and I just wanted to say, this is not easy. I know people will probably be angry. They don't know all the things that you know, and that I just wanted to, on behalf of the staff, thank you for actually the service of being in the positions that you are, because if good people aren't in elected seats, then bad people will be there. So it's good to have good people to be in the elected official seats.
We have a motion and a second before us, council. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Cassie, would you record that as unanimous? And let's see, we're on your item, Dave?
We are.
We are. Have at it.
Thank you. Council, I want to bring forward an item, and I'm about to share my screen, that you're aware of, but I have been doing the due diligence of the council to go and investigate this.
Cassie, could you let Dave share?
I'm on it. Just a minute. I just have to call up that screen. Oh, host is disabled.
Yeah, she needs to make you a host.
Sorry, I'm just froze for a sec. Hang on one sec.
Okay. This has to do, folks, with a lot of economic development, and I have been your representative in this. I just want to start by being clear that my investigation into this has been to go forth and decide whether this was worth bringing back to council and the potential that it has. As much as I've worked very intimately with these folks over the past few months, understanding all of this, I don't have any stake in this, so there's no conflict for me. But
Dave,
am I
you
able to share?
You can share.
You're able to share now, yeah.
All right. So what we have here is an opportunity that we could be a partner in a possible performing arts center coming to our city. There are a lot of people involved already in this group. You see that I've added the city logo to the groups that are already as part of the team. And I want to kind of explain how this would work. Okay, so a couple of years ago at the ULCT conference, I was really investigating what public and private partnerships were. It was an interesting item of how both win and the benefits that become mutual from this. So I want you to take a look at this just briefly. I'm not going to read it to you, but mutually beneficial agreements where some of the parties involved, both the public entity and the private entity, eliminate some of the risk by being partners. P3s have been used to build tollways, have been used to build bridges, have been used to build all kinds of things. In this case, a cultural center does have a benefit to the city, but by eliminating the need to run it, eliminates a lot of the expense of why these don't get built by cities. It also, there's some opportunities here of what it can give back, because when a nonprofit runs these, you end up with a situation where because the city has become an invested partner, there's some reciprocity that takes place back to that organization. And I've done some homework with that and met out with other P3s that are established in the city, other very similar projects that we can talk about and talk about the exact details of what that means. In this particular partnership, you've all been asking me, who is the group we're working with? And the only hesitation I've had in stating what that is that it would be, in fact, a group that is yet to be formed. So this new, if you see up here, new nonprofit operating entity would be formed as a nonprofit group that the board is made up of equally the group of OPA, On Pitch Performing Arts, which currently resides in Layton, and the Syracuse City Arts Council, which currently we support here in the city. So they would be the resident tenants of the facility and share equally in the operation of the board. The nonprofit entity that we would form would end up, and the city would maintain some presence there, though I think it's debatable whether they really want to have as great a presence. These people may have 3 members each. I don't know that the city wants to send that. That all can be sorted out later. The point would be that the managing group just balances the schedule between the two of them and deals with mutual cost operating situations. Now, the center would make money, it would generate, and I'll go into how that happens later. Now, I want to say, now here's the other part of this, and that is on the right side of your screen, you see a couple of logos here. These are all people who have already partnered on the planning and development side of this. So we have GTS, Development Services, Parallel Strategies, Pathway and Associates, Galloway is an engineering service. They have already signed a teaming agreement. And one of the questions before us tonight would be, are we willing to sign a teaming agreement with them as well? Teaming agreement basically means, and we can have Paul help us iron out the details here, but basically means we're going to pursue this project with these people. We're not going to take it to a certain level and then bail out on them and do it on our own or something like that. It just means we're all in this together. Here is kind of one of the exciting parts that I need you to understand. That team has a commitment to this project's success, meaning they're performing work today to make this happen somewhere, hopefully within our city boundaries, and none of them get paid if this isn't realized. They are not asking us to start by paying them for surveys, studies, all this. There was some upfront work, and I'm going to go over that needs to be done. But this is not a come start paying us, and if it doesn't happen, at least we all got paid. This is, if this doesn't happen, they didn't, all of the work that went into this for them doesn't pay off. So that is a pretty powerful opportunity when you're talking about a P3 opportunity. So I want to go forward with that. The value to the city isn't that suddenly there are theater events and music concerts. We already have some of that. This would be on a whole new level, yes. But the value is that a cultural arts district becomes a new economic anchor. It provides destination. And I have been in discussions with Brody, the mayor, and Noah about what this could mean to our city. And it's like that anchor tenant in a new development area. So we would have a say, because our investment in this is not a cash investment, but probably would be in the form of access to land that the city owns. And if they built this on our land, then we would have that vested interest in the facility and in making sure that it succeeds. There are multiple benefits to having an economic development like this. And there's some of these are listed here just quickly. There's lots of reasons why people go to an area like this, because it wouldn't be just a theater. They would help lay out what the possible items that would also be here could be. For example, on this property, they would look for something where there are available properties, or in conjunction with this property, there would be available to restaurants, maybe a hotel, maybe other forms of evening entertainment that are supported by this. All of this helps drive the economy. People want to build next to something like this, and it's happened across the state. Just a little background, this same group that is part of the teaming agreement now helped build the Eccles in downtown Salt Lake. And I have wonderful letters of recommendation from Salt Lake and how all that worked out. And we could go into great detail, but the bottom line is they were part of that, and they did it. They were also part of a project that is now under construction in Taylorsville that would be very similar in scale to what we're doing. They've worked on other projects similar to this. They're working on one in Arizona. They've worked with Park City. These kind of things, it is an experienced team. They know how to make this work. And the funding for this, one of the groups on that list, the Pathways Associates, is a fundraising body. They believe strongly, and this was one of the big hangups for my investigation. I went to them and I said, okay, you're all so excited that Pathways has convinced you they can raise enough money to build a multi-million-dollar facility. Help me get that fire. And after meeting with them and talking about their process and the way that they deploy their connections, I too believe that they can build a multi-million-dollar facility in our city that would be of great benefit to all of us. A couple of elements to what makes something like this work. One is you have to have an established community where these kind of things happen. For example, we already have some wonderful things that are here because we have a community that does support the arts quite a bit. There is a location that is underserved. There are a lot of people who are ready to travel all the way to Salt Lake or up to Ogden to pay for these services that do not exist in northern Davis County. It also is a city, our city, we know needs economic development. So that is one of the things that helps make a good location for something like this, because this is the kind of thing that's going to partner with other organizations as well. What we are in today is the strategic planning process. We've already done some preliminary scheduling between OPA and Syracuse Arts Council to know that we could fulfill a facility like this over the entire year and keep it very operational. And it's enough for both groups, but it also leaves open more opportunities to bring in guest artists. They're working on what this would be with the economic impact. So some of this is going on, but this is the process. And then again, the thing that this is a part of a greater whole is this brings in restaurants and retail and office spaces attracted to this. If you will know, the Hale Center Theater is built right next to a brand new office building that filled up immediately. And so this has been a great boon to that society. Let me throw out just a number here that is going to help put a perspective on the size of this opportunity. When I went down to the Hale Center Theater, I was grateful that an old friend of mine got me an appointment with the director down there of the Hale Center Theater, Sally Detland, who is also a Hale. She runs that, and she was very kind and opened up some of the details of what makes Hale Center Theater work. And we don't plan to start on their level, but to give you some numbers, she said that when they were in West Valley, they had projected that they were bringing in about $15 to the community for every ticket sold. And so they suggested to Sandy that they use a baseline of at least $10 a ticket would be introduced into the economy for because they're now there and a part of this. The actual numbers they were tracking when I talked to her last fall was over $24 a ticket into the community. Let's just go back to the basic. If we just introduce $10 a ticket into the community because of gas sales and restaurant sales, these are not ticket sales. These are the other things that come when people come to your community for a destination like this. If we just did that, we easily replace the major business that we're losing now. So this is the kind of thing that I'm looking at as an economic development catalyst, if you will. This is a very unique opportunity because this theater would be combining education and the arts. And I want you to see, the reason I put this together is these cogs turn each other. When you have something that is education based, you have a built-in audience. More people attend because they know somebody in a community show than because it's just an opportunity to see a show. But we will have plenty of people that will come just because it will be a quality venue with quality opportunities. So these three elements of having the performing arts with education and utilizing the community make this extremely succinct. It makes it a machine that keeps each other alive, if you will. And we could go into that more in depth. All of these things that are listed here as services are currently going on between the groups that are the two groups that would be resident tenants. And they have more plans that they just don't have the space for right now. This is just to give you an idea of scale. This is the floor plan of the building being built in Taylorsville right now. They call it the Mid-Valley Performing Arts Center. This has got two major performing spaces in it, slightly different. Ours would include more classrooms than you would see here and a little bit more rehearsal space. But that's, you know, our building would be designed for the space that we have available and for the needs and per the ability to raise funds. If fundraising comes in a little higher, we can do a little more. If it comes in a little less, we do a little bit less. But just to give you an idea of the scale of what's going in Taylorsville right now, this is a plan. The other thing that we would do that would be interesting in this space is that we would have a guest artist series. This guest artist series would bring in rock concerts, other music concerts, orchestra, traveling opera, traveling dance companies. On the nights that we don't have one of the two resident tenants performing, or those weekends more likely, we could bring in a artist series similar to what they do over at Ed Kinley, except for by being indoors, we can serve the people all through the winter, which is not being done at all in North Davis County. The nearest thing that you could do anything like this is Ogden, and they're not doing that much of it, but they are doing some. So we would have kind of the ability, and these things are well attended. The ticket prices are also higher, which is nice. Those ticket prices help us pay back into those pots. Now, let me explain one other thing about this. So what makes the Hale work is the Hale, because they have the city backing, every ticket sold has a small percentage that goes into a couple of different pots. The first is an endowment fund that maintains the physical space, so that there is no risk that if we build this and suddenly it doesn't succeed for any reason, because maybe tenants move out or whatever, what they want to do is put money back from every ticket into this endowment fund that will cover operational expenses. Things like the maintenance of the building, things like new equipment as it needs to be updated. So let's say on your average $20 ticket, maybe $1 of that goes into your endowment fund for the facility. There's also other funds that go into there. Hale actually has 3 buckets that they pay into. One is capped, so that as soon as they hit a certain payback to the city, that money doesn't have to keep being paid back out of ticket sales. Another one that they pay into is a surrounding site development that just keeps things nice around the area that we could use. Now, for example, if this were to go next to something that needed a lot of city beautification, maybe there would be a small, maybe 50 cents or a quarter from every ticket go into a fund like that, so that we could keep the area nice and upscale, because that also benefits the theater. Theaters don't want to be located in a rundown area, so it's kind of a mutual benefit. Again, this is not set in stone. These are discussions to have, but this is where it starts paying back for itself quite readily. The other thing that's really important is that it helps us create destination. It's difficult. We've had that problem for years of what can we do to make Syracuse a destination? Well, when you've got a place to go to see stuff like this, you can create that kind of destination. It increases tourism. There's been talks already about what we can do to partner with Antelope Island to maybe get some of those visitors to stop here, maybe stay in a local hotel that doesn't exist yet, see a show that night. I mean, all these kind of discussions come up front before they even build the facility, of ways that they can partner and boost the economy of both the theater and the city that it resides in. I've gone through a lot really quick. I'm sure you have more questions. Let's go to that point. Let me answer some of those questions of what I've not brought up so far.
So Dave, where are you proposing this happens?
That's a good question, and that would be up to the city, and we can actually discuss a location for that in closed session because it deals with real estate. And I've talked to Paul about that. So let me table the where until we get to closed session, because we have that option to propose that back to them.
And that would be tonight.
Yes, that plan is for tonight.
Okay, I know that Hale Center Theater, it started out really small in Murray with theater in the round there, and then they moved to West Valley. Now they're in Sandy because they've continued to grow, but it's like one of the few theater companies that's been able to grow like that. And I don't know that we're the size of Murray or West Valley or Sandy or a lot of those places, and that's a big concern for me.
Those are good points. So let me give you some more history there. Hale actually started in Murray, then they went to downtown Salt Lake, then they went to West Valley, then they went to Sandy. Each of those residences were nearly a decade of time that they built things around them, but they're not the only people to have done this. The Center Point Theater in Centerville actually started as Rogers Memorial Theater for 20 years and sold lots of tickets before they got to that phase. We are, for all intents and purposes, SAC and OPA have been going around. SAC's existed for more than a decade and is continued to build that culture of having stuff here. They haven't had a facility that's let them grow to that size, but this would help take that next step. These are not the only people that have done it. There's the Grand, the Rose Wagner down in Salt Lake. They all grew from something similar to this. Even some of the ones in other states, there are lots of examples of things that started out about the size of what we're talking now and grew over time. So,
well, the plans that you were showing are much larger than the original Health Center Theater. I mean, I remember going to a place there when I was in high school. So that comparatively is totally different.
Yeah, I've been there from their Salt Lake location. I actually got to meet Ruth and Nathan Hale, the originators. They're first cousins to one of my close friends. So
I guess what my concern was, though, is that when I was in high school and it was in Murray, you know, just that town was really big at the time. I mean, it's still big, obviously. And I just, comparatively to population, I know that we've got all of Davis County, but, you know, it seems like they had a little more infrastructure to begin with. And that's kind of that concern of, you know, we're not bustling Murray.
we have a highway coming, which is going to help provide access. This could help be a catalyst for what makes that work in our favor. But again, there are other companies that have grown from that level, and it's not just Hale. And there, you know, I mentioned some of the others in Utah, but there are a lot, and this is a carefully studied thing. Again, keep in mind that all of the people who are already working on this have seen this succeed in a similar environment, or they wouldn't be gambling their energy and effort because they don't get paid if this doesn't happen. So there's already been kind of some feelers put out there to see if there would be donors the size that could help build something of this scale. It's, you know, it's not going to be the size of the Eccles. It's not going to be 1,000-seat arenas. It's going to be probably one 400-seat theater and maybe one that is a flex space 400 to 800, depending on whether you open the second level or not, which we've talked about in great detail what those things mean. It allows them to produce smaller and bigger and get more revenue. Plus, the concert series that go on, the guest artist series that go on already in Utah, most of them are restricted by things that this would solve, but they turn very sizable profits, and that has gone back a long time. I worked on that in Utah going through school, and you know, we make $40,000 a night on some of those concerts. So it's easy to sell them out in weird places.
Hey, Dave, can you speak to the timeline a little bit?
Yes. So ideally, this center would end up opening about the same time as we open the Legacy Highway. That's the ideal schedule. It's going to take at least a year and a half for planning, and probably another year to build. So we're kind of up against we'd love to have it open about the same time as the highway. And again, right now, all we're asking is, are we willing to be a partner? We're not asking for cash. Are we willing to continue to follow this as an opportunity and see if this is something where we would like to take it?
So here's my thoughts on this. I've been thinking about this a lot. I've seen some of the teasers for some of this. And my thoughts are, so obviously there will be some type of commitment from the city. If we're going to partner, there is some skin in the game. And I think Dave will be touching on that. I agree that of the theaters that I know of, their biggest shortcomings that I know of that causes them not to succeed or not to do well is usually location. But for me, in order, because this is going to require a fairly visible location in order to be successful. And for me, if they cannot build a very high class building for us to partner with, I'm out at that point. But if they can come up with enough money to build what is a high class facility with that space, I could, if they can't do it, then I'm out. But if they can, I think that type of an organization is actually an asset. I agree that if you can get a theater that has the ability to draw people into the community, it can be a catalyst. You would start to see a little bit more business in our restaurants. You'll see some more of those types of activities. One thing I would love to put together at some point is, I know that a lot of communities have what's called, I can't think of what, tour the city, and it's, maybe in the package, there's admission to Antelope Island, a day at the Rush, maybe a day of golf at the golf course, and put together some type of economic grouping that allows people to come and spend a couple of days in Syracuse. This requires us to get some type of either RV site or campground or something like that. But I think the opportunity is there. And I think theater, if it's well done, I think could be something like that. So I'm willing to continue to listen on this. If it can prove to be the catalyst that I think it could be, then this will be a huge boon to the community. But the only way I get behind this is if those fundraisers can put together, and I would say if they can't build at least a $10 to $20 million facility, I don't see it being a success. I know the ones that I'm thinking of, that they're in kind of a rundown part of town with a little teeny building that they converted from an old
house.
market store. What's that?
I just said a church house conversion.
Let me
Something
comment
like
on that,
that.
if I may. So the plan here is to build something at least in the scale of $30 million. And and we believe that we could get that fairly easily. Taylorsville is being built on a budget of $57 million. I'm actually optimistic that we could do similar to what they're doing. I'm not concerned that this is going to be done on a $5 million scale. In fact, we talked about a different opportunity for what we might renovate a space when these people came forward and asked Syracuse Arts if they might want to be a partner with them and share the fulfillment of this center. When I started investigating that, I realized quickly that the scale of what we were talking about before would never compete with something like this. So that made that no longer an option. Here's kind of the interesting thing. If they don't do this here, I'm quite confident they will do this in North Davis County, and we will not be able to compete with it.
Dave, what is there a reason why that you're making the pitch rather than some of them? I'm just curious.
Yes.
What? Okay.
Okay, so one of the things that we learned really early on was that to make P3s work, you have to have somebody who has done the homework and gets why this is going to work. You have to have a champion on the public side. I'm taking on that role because I've done months and months of research to make sure that this is real and viable and that it's everything that it could be. So I stood up and said, I'll take care of this. Now, this has been proposed one other place, but I think the emphasis was put on maybe what the other group, what the private side gets out of this. And I wanted to make sure that what I was presenting to you was what the public side gets out of something like this. Because it's easy to look at something like this and say, hey, they get something from us by us partnering with them. I think it's easily lost how much the city gets out of something like this. And so not only did I go through this process as your representative to find out if it was real, but I also brought it back to, as I said, Brody, Noah, and the mayor to just make sure that what I was hearing also got their perspective on it. And I welcome any of the three of them to chime in here and kind of share their thoughts as this is developed. What we would be presenting at this time would be a commitment that we continue the discussion. We could then put forth our city resources to be able to help make sure that this is fully investigated and complete, and that this is a real opportunity and not just something that's a pipe dream. I believe in it, and so I'm here as their champion.
What if somehow things fall apart, the economy gets worse, so on? I don't know how 2020 could get worse, but anyway, what if something happens and you put like another year of work into this and everybody are they going to be angry at us like we've kind of experienced with certain people who wanted to,
And see,
privately do things?
That's
How
where
could
I
they-
think, as part of our agreement with them, we
Yeah.
say, look, if you can't raise, I think for me, in order to partner with them, which means give them land, most likely, or something like unto
Yes.
it, then as part of our agreement says, look, if you don't raise enough to build this $30 to $50 million facility, you have to have some type of bottom limit. If you don't get to that point, then our partnership dissolves. I think we need to build those contingencies in place so that it doesn't become awkward if we're like, we're out. We want
think
everyone to
they're
understand what the
prepared for
expectations
that.
are up front.
I mean, I'm not going to speak for them indefinitely, but I think they're absolutely prepared for that, because we've talked about that in discussions early on about how this plays out. If they aren't able, if their fundraising studies and first attempts don't show that they can fund this, then we come back and we say, hey, you know what? The opportunity for that much of a facility isn't there, and we decide if we're even all still in it. Because if it doesn't come at this regional level, similar to the Taylorsville size, then it doesn't serve the needs. It doesn't accomplish the task. Everybody needs to succeed here. It is a team effort. And the success on the city side is increased for the economy and the need for other businesses around to come.
I have to ask the question where the proposal is to partner. I know that one of the controversies in arts programs that are part of a city is that a lot of times they'll farm talent from outside communities, and then residents are pretty mad that, hey, we are contributing in land or resources that can be used for something else and our taxes, and yet our residents aren't getting the parts or the such. So
Yeah.
how do you handle that situation? I know
Very
it's
simple.
an ongoing situation as
Okay,
is.
it has been an ongoing situation when we do one show a year and it's a community-based show.
Yeah.
This is a now professional organization. They expect to make money out of this. So it will be a tremendous opportunity for people in the community to audition and participate and be key players in things that are local, and it'll be an easy commute for them to want to be a part of this, but it will be considered a professional organization. And
Okay,
anybody who decides that I'm in the community, I didn't get the part, that's going to probably go away with this.
But at the
so
same
if it's
time,
a nonprofit, what do you do with this new income? I mean, you're making money off it. How do you utilize that nonprofit situation?
Bill's a
then?
nonprofit and they make over 80 million a year. So
Has to
what
just
is-
go back into the
it
project.
goes back into the product. It's not, yes, there's going to be, hell ends up paying all of their actors. Everyone in every show, even a bit part, gets something. We don't pay anybody. We're an all volunteer group right now.
Yeah.
I don't know that that's the purpose. It's not. The purpose is to have successful educational opportunities here and to have good quality entertainment. But yeah, we're going to stress less that this is based on people from our community. This is based on every best opportunity, and there will be people traveling to be a part of something here, and that will be acceptable.
but at the same time, where the Syracuse Arts Council is one of the active partners, I think we will still be having our community plays in this facility. And so I think the Syracuse Arts Council, and correct me if I'm wrong, Dave, would still be having, one night every few months where it is just a community play.
Yeah, there will be community people in every show, produced by community people. There will be a diverse level of opportunity here. Maybe if it's in the smaller theater, it may be an all local cast. If it's a guest artist, none of those people are local. You're bringing in maybe a Bon Jovi to play for 3 nights, and that's not unrealistic because it's happened here in Syracuse. So again, these are the type of things that can happen. And I see that our chairman of the Arts Council has entered, and I know that the chairman of OPA has been watching on YouTube. If you want to ask any of them a question, you can.
Can we bring AC/DC?
We could. That would be part of the guest artist series. I don't know where they're playing and when.
So
What about
Dave,
2022?
a quick question. What are we concerned about the competition between us and Layton? And I consider the supportive community. We supported Rush's swimming pool thinking we would have plenty of money and supported that. And it ended up being a draw on our.
The Rush never agreed to pay us anything back. In fact, all they ever did was ask for us to pay into their sustaining budget. So this
but they also said that their entity itself would draw people to the city center and stuff, it does some, but the swimming pool was a major part of those contracts, and it did not work like they wanted it to, like they said it would.
What you're saying.
Council, I'm going to stop the discussion here because Dave's done a really good job of describing the horse.
Yeah.
What we need to talk about is the pasture, and we will do that in a closed session. But when we get into that closed session, the discussion involving the management, all that stuff will have to go away. We'll have to be just dealing with land. And this is not something that we're gonna, this investment is not something we're gonna make a decision in 40 minutes as to what we're going to do. So what I'd like to do is move us on. We'll continue the discussion about where the pasture will be in the closed session.
If I could,
yes.
The question is the council ready to at least make the motion that we will continue this, which allows me to start having meetings that include city staff and not just investigative, but actual real discussions as to the viability of this. If you're willing to at least make that resolution and possibly a teaming agreement, the purpose of the teaming agreement would just be that, hey, we like your idea, we'll be a part of your team, but we won't suddenly turn to somebody else to fulfill your dream. Those are the questions on the table tonight.
I think
either of those something that you can move forward with.
I think what I'd like to do is at the end of that closed session, we will have to come back into general session and we'll just look for a nod. We can't adopt anything tonight. It's not an action item, it's a discussion. But
I thought it was.
No, it's not an
It
action.
says it's a discussion.
It's a discussion
on the agenda.
Yeah, and not only that, but we had no info before this moment.
Yeah. So let's find out where the pasture is, and then at that time we could then maybe give a nod that this is worth pursuing, or we can be like the observers in the stadium, thumbs up or thumbs down. And but I think the important part is now maybe the where, and there are a couple.
Look, I want to leave this on a high note, so I'll just say this: you never know what kind of benefit to your community or at least entertainment value there is. So, it takes all kinds of people to be a part of this kind of stuff. And you never know where it's going to come from.
Great visuals there. I love it.
Did you like that? Thought I'd do something to keep it on the lighter side as we close.
Were there visual? I missed it.
You're missing the
right
visual.
there on the screen.
The bear?
No, look at it. It's not sharing with your screen.
All I see
You
is a
never
bear.
know who's going to be involved in this kind of stuff.
Oh,
It's
got it.
all kinds.
Very suspect people.
Yes, I know. It can reform even the craziest of people.
Council,
I just thought it was fun to hear the mayor describe you as a gladiator.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Council, let's move on. Let's, again, we're at item number 13, public comment. If there's anybody who would like to address the issue we've been discussing or anything else that's on your mind, we'd open it up to public comment. If you just kind of wave your hand to us, we'd ask you to to state your name and your place of residence. We'd like to respond. We'd invite you to do so now. Not seeing any hands, I'll close public comment. Let's go around the table. Seth, do you have anything for this group?
The only thing I wanted to bring up was I received an email from a citizen who talked about wanting to discuss setback issues on his property. And I don't know if anybody else received that, but I can get some more clarification moving forward. But he wanted to discuss a particular issue in his property where because of the layout of his property, or excuse me, because of the footprint of his house on his property, it created some inefficiencies with building a deck. And so I'll send that information out to staff, but I'd like to get an opportunity to discuss that.
Okay. Is that all?
Yep.
I would like to see on a future agenda a discussion about our city branding, because that seems to be like on the back burner forever and ever, and we can at least get ideas on that.
Okay. Cassie, did you catch that?
Yep, got it.
Discussion on branding. Okay. Lisa?
Yep.
Yeah, the West Davis Chamber of Commerce considered in their last meeting doing something to support West Davis cities that are part of their chamber, helping to come together to fund or maybe just offer some services for city events, which we aren't having. So I think they brought it up to Cresta, but I thought we might want to consider see if they are interested in contributing to the illumination event, which is what the CTC is a part of, and our city is a part of that. And maybe in lieu of a city celebration, they could be a part of that celebration. But I just wanted to bring up that they wanted to offer their services and money to support some things to do with the city. So I think that's a great contribution they can make to us. And I just go on record that I 100% support our police department, especially in light of what's been going on in the world and in our country. I haven't made a statement on social media or anything, but I do think this is an appropriate place to do that. I would like it known that I 100% support our police department, all of our first responders and staff, but especially right now, our police department. I have never felt anything but that their behavior is fair and constant integrity. And although I am not there for all of the things that take place, I've been involved in some citizen police academy work and have seen the incredibly difficult decisions they've had to make, and and I fully support all of our officers.
Thank you, Lisa. Jordan?
Couple things. First of all, I'll echo Lisa in that sentiment that I do want to make sure our first responders are aware that we are extremely supportive of them. And at the same time, I'd like to condemn racism in all of its forms. Everybody is important. It doesn't matter race, color, or creed, religion. I think that we need to make sure that we are tolerant of each other, that we can work together, and there should not be any judgment based on the color of their skin or the church they attend or anything like unto it. So I agree in everything that's been said. Our police officers are doing a fantastic job. I want to make sure that they all know that they have our support. Another thing I want to bring up is this week, I don't know if you guys have seen the announcements, there are 2 meetings for economic development, open houses. One of them is a Zoom meeting, which will take place tomorrow at 7 p.m. Those links have been, they will be shared on, I believe, social media, if I'm not mistaken, just before the event. And we would love to get as many people looking at that, provide their input. This is your community as well. We want to make sure you have a say in what it is that comes in and where we want to focus. So Better Cities is hosting that. Again, so Wednesday at 7 p.m. is the first meeting, which will be an online meeting for those that aren't able to attend in person. The second meeting will be held on Thursday from 7 to 9 p.m. at City Hall. We will ask that social distancing be maintained as well as masks be worn. But we will have posters set up for you to come and see what we have there. We will be there to receive input. And we just want to make sure that you are all out there. Just know you're invited and we want your feedback. So please, if you can, mark your calendars, your schedules for those to attend one of those two meetings, and we look forward to your participation. Beyond that, I don't think I have a lot more information. We are still looking for the state to go green, I think, before we look at really opening up the splash pad. I know I've had a lot of comments about that. I don't know the exact details because we're still looking for clarification on that, but I think we are looking for a green indicator before we do that. Corinne, did you hold up a finger as wanted to say something? Go ahead.
I've heard that it was the right finger, correct? I just want to make sure y'all know. Okay, that June 15th, they've talked about opening the splash pad. Is that still a go? Yes. And then along with that, I just wanted to let everybody know the museum is going to be holding a bathing resort exhibit. So yes, social distancing rules will apply, but you got to come and check out those great bathing suits that they wore at the Salt Lake back in the day. And, 100% wool, all that great stuff. All right. And sorry, I can't attend in person on Thursday. I've got mosquito abatement. So
it's okay. That's why we have the Wednesday Zoom meeting.
Thank you. Zoom. Gotcha. Are you sending out an invite, or how do we find that? Sorry.
Noah, how are we distributing that?
I put information on Facebook already, on the city's Facebook page. And then there's on the city website, on the agendas and meetings, there's an item there, and then it's also on the calendar. So if you go on there, there's a link for the Zoom. It's a little poster.
Have we actually created a Facebook event for that we can share, Noah?
Yes.
Great. I would encourage each of you, if you can, please share that. We want to try and make sure we get the input of the community in this and make sure they're aware that this is something that we are actively pursuing. I know we all want the Costco and the Chick-fil-A, but one thing this will help us do is actually target those businesses that we are extremely likely to be able to get. And if we can do that, we can bring them here sooner, and which might provide opportunities for some of those others that we want to target later.
That's awesome. Thank you, Jordan.
Yeah.
You moved around on my screen. I don't know who I've not called on. Dave, did I get to you?
Not yet, but thank you all for your consideration. I have been working other angles. This isn't the only economic development that I hope to share with the city that could possibly be working something. And I think that we all need to kind of keep our ears and eyes open for an opportunity when somebody might be showing some interest or things that might develop here, because that's really the future we need. I want to just be clear. I think I've made a few statements online, but I am so grateful for the level of professionalism that comes from our police department. In this time when we see videos of people who are the 1% bad actors out there in some big city, I feel 100% confident that I can tell our citizens that I would never expect something like that to happen here, because of the level of professionalism that is top to bottom in our department. And I really appreciate that. I've had some people criticize to say that I'm not sympathetic to the plight of others. On the contrary, all I hope to share with our citizens is that here we hold a higher standard, and it starts from within our own department, and I'm proud of them for that. And I want them all to know that. I really do appreciate them. I look forward to sharing other things with you in future meetings, like the resolution that looks like it's forthcoming with the sewer board. We will be meeting Thursday, but we'll save that for another meeting. And thank you all.
Okay. Anybody that I missed? You moved around on me. Okay. I don't have anything. Brody, do you have something for the group?
Yeah, a couple things to be mindful of as we continue to manage the COVID-19 emergency. I do want to thank Paul Roberts, Aaron Beam, and Garrett Atkin. They're sharing the load in managing that emergency. We've had words of caution from our public health directors, both of the state and the county level. And they've been pretty explicit on their caution that as we go from red to orange to yellow to green, that the messaging is somewhat off. When we say that those colors are going towards green, it means we're opening society and we're opening the economy and that sort of thing. They've been very explicit to say that does not mean your risk of getting in contact with the virus is actually going down.
It's going up.
And in fact, one of them actually said it goes up. And so we want to make sure that everybody's aware of that. I think the message gets lost when it goes out in the public and everybody thinks that, it's actually going away. So it's still here, and we're watching it very closely. The other thing I wanted to mention, I'll get the manager's report out. I just have some finishing touches still to do on it. I may even be able to get it out tonight after the meeting, but if not, it'll be tomorrow. And one thing you'll see, I want to highlight the police department has produced their annual report. And it's a very good report that they put together on the activities that they've conducted over the last year that you'll have access to. The fire department had their annual awards banquet virtually. So we weren't able to meet, but we did it through video. So you'll see our firefighters who received awards. So if you see them out there in the community, be sure to congratulate them.
Brody, please tell them, I'm sorry, tell them thank you for helping with the Memorial Day ceremony. They were awesome to show up, to be there just in case and help hold up flags.
Yeah, they were. Yeah, that was good. And then finally, the sales tax index is interesting because, and I know you mentioned that you're curious about what March would look like. And what you'll see is pretty much what we found in the report that the Utah League of Cities and Towns did. They did a study on kind of a projection of what they think the impact will be on several cities across the state. We will be impacted. We think our revenues will take a hit, but primarily because of the statewide sales tax revenues. The city's revenues, because we actually had more people staying home in Syracuse, we actually had a higher daytime population, and our area businesses actually didn't do too bad. And so, so we so far anyway, we'll see what April shows, but it's the online sales were pretty good.
Yay!
with everybody being home.
Amazon to the rescue.
Yeah. So that's what we've seen so far, and the fact that most of our retail in the city is grocery related and that sort of thing, which people needed in March. So you'll see that too. So that's all I have, Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Council, I'll declare that we're now in recess from our business meeting and call us to order in our RDA. I entertain a motion to adopt the agenda.
So
So
moved.
moved.
Have a second?
Second.
Second.
One of them, Cassie, one of them. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Steve, do you want to lead us through this?
Sure, really quick. We've done this before, most of us. But the council is also the board for the RDA and the MBA. So you guys act as the voting board for those two organizations. They are separate legal entities. So we have to approve a separate budget for each of those. That's why we're doing that in separate meetings. The budgets are pretty straightforward. I'm kind of handling these both at the same time, just so we don't have to discuss it twice. Yeah, there were no changes made since the May 12th tentative budget was approved for these two agenda items or these two budgets. I'm just going to leave it at that. If you have any questions, let me know.
Council, do you have any questions?
Move to adopt.
Cassie, do we need a hearing?
Probably.
Paul?
Yeah, you need to have a hearing for it.
Okay, it's not on the agenda. I would declare that we're in public hearing. If there is a member of the public or anyone who'd like to comment on on resolution RDA 20-01, adopting an annual budget, if you would meld yourself with a hand.
Do I have a literal hand or the other hand?
The other hand, the blue
Okay,
hand.
gotcha. Sorry.
Yeah, there you go, Corinne.
I got both.
Good. Hearing and seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. Let's look for a motion to adopt the resolution.
Motion to adopt the
Have
budget.
that from Dave, do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Seth. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Having heard none, I declare that has been accepted unanimously. Motion to adjourn.
So
So
moved.
moved.
RDA, okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, I now declare that we're convened and we're now at order with the MDA.
Motion to adopt.
Motion to adopt has been given. Second.
Second.
Second by Corinne. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, Steve.
Same discussion as last time, so
Okay,
anything to add?
you okay with the MDA?
Yep.
Okay,
Mm.
I entertain a motion to
Motion to adopt.
Motion to adopt.
have a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, Cassie, would you record that? And I would declare look for a motion to adjourn.
Motion to move into closed session.
We gotta
We're gonna go back to the other first. Motion to adjourn this meeting.
adjourn this meeting. Second,
Second.
I have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed. Okay, now I've declared we're back in our normal business meeting. I'd entertain a motion. that we-
Motion to move into closed session.
Okay, and Cassie has sent you in Outlook a new link
Oh,
in that meeting. So what we'll do is we'll leave this meeting and regather in that meeting, okay?
Okay.
okay.
All right. See you in a minute.
Thank you all.